It's your girl, Professor Cinephile, and guess what? It is spooky season. Now, if you follow my channel, you know that horror is one of my top two favorite genres, the other being blaxploitation. So, what better time than October to explore some of my favorite horror films? And it's so interesting. Like I was thinking through what films I could cover this month, and so I decided to do a mix of some classics, perhaps some you haven't seen, and maybe I'll throw in a couple of new ones. All right. So today I'm actually going to talk about my favorite horror film of all time. And some of you may be like, what? What is she talking about? But trust me, this is one of my favorite films. And I'm going to talk about Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. Now, I thought about doing an entire thing just on the Nightmare on Elm Street series, but that would just, I could really talk for hours about the entire series. But I'm focusing on The Dream Child because that film to me was probably the darkest of the series and gave us the backstory that I think we'd been waiting for when it came to none other than Freddy Krueger. Spoiler alert, I will be talking about details. So if for some reason, right, it's 2025, the film came out, I believe in 1989. Don't quote me. But if you haven't seen it by now, I might spoil it for you. But if you have seen it and you just want to know my thoughts, stick around and that's what I'm going to talk about. Okay. So Nightmare on Elm Street is a series by Wes Craven that focuses on a character, Freddy Krueger. Freddy Krueger is a boogeyman type, or it's a slasher film, right? Where he attacks young people from a neighborhood, and usually they tend to be the children of the people who killed him, right? So the story goes that he was a violent predator, and all the families came together and to get rid of him. Kind of like you're supposed to do. Like we're team abolitionists over here. Like you got Chester child molester in your neighborhood. Y'all need to take care of that, right? I'm just saying, hey, stick with me. That's just my politics. That's how I think about it. But anyway, they burned him alive, and so he comes back in people's dreams and nightmares, right? And so if you fall asleep, you become susceptible to Freddy Krueger's wrath. He is played by brilliantly by Robert Englund, and he's got like this really like distorted face that's all burnt up, all these burn scars. He wears a red and green sweater. He's got this hat. He's got a claw hand. He's got like this glove that has all these knives, and that becomes like his signature thing. Throughout the series, you see him using different weapons, but his primary thing is this like hand, this glove that has like these claws, right? Okay, so when we get to part five, Freddie has made his way through a lot of the young people in the neighborhood, particularly focused on a young woman named Nancy. So Nancy and her friends kind of catch it the most. But in Nightmare on Elm Street 5, we are dealing with Alice. Alice was introduced in part four, and Alice, she's kind of quiet, kind of keeps to herself a bit, but she's got friends, she's got community, and she connects with this guy named Dan, and they build a relationship. So in part five, we see their relationship blossoming, and then there's an accident that happens because of Freddie, and Dan ends up dead. And so when Dan dies, Alice also finds out that she is pregnant. Okay, so they've all graduated high school, and her and Dan were doing the freaky sneaky, and now Alice is pregnant. And so Freddie comes and Freddie finds a way to harm people primarily in their dreams. But what makes this one different is that he is using the dreams of Alice's fetus to be able to come through. And so Alice has to like kind of navigate that. It's like, yo, I'm not even sleeping. He's using my, this unborn baby's dreams to get at the people, right? But my favorite thing about this film is that we learn more about Freddie's mother, who is apparently a nun named Amanda. And Amanda was attacked in a psychiatric asylum by a whole bunch of men, and she was sexually assaulted, and that is how she ends up pregnant with Freddy Krueger. And so she has him. And so the suggestion is that, he was born evil because she was assaulted by all these men. And so he was going to be an evil person in his life. He had no choice and things like that. But we do see like her attempts to try to stop him and to save him from this destiny, but she can't. And so in this film, we see her and Alice kind of teaming up in this dream world because she's dead, she's not here. But we see her and Alice kind of, you know, connecting in this dream world where she's trying to help Alice defeat him and also trying to help Alice save her child from being used by Freddy or being harmed by Freddy. Um, this film even like visually it even looks different. It's a bit darker. There's a lot more blue light that's being used, which definitely gives this like darker feel to it. And then with the texture of the history, right, you're getting something a little bit deeper. It's not just he's just going around randomly killing people or what have you. You actually get a backstory, you actually get some meaning. And so I just really appreciated the depth that they went into with this particular film. I thought the kill scenes were great. One of my favorite scenes out of all the series is when Alice's friend gets pulled into a comic book and then becomes a comic book and kind of meets Freddy in this kind of comic book space. I really, really loved that one. So, you know, there's a lot that's going on there. I just thought that like visually, I just thought it was a better film than all of them. And there were some moments that for me are a bit kind of like emo and heart-wrenching because in some ways they try to get you to have maybe some understanding of why Freddie does what he does, and you can see very clearly that Freddie and his mom, like that's like the one person in the world that maybe like has Freddie shook. And that he's kind of afraid of his own history and things like that. So it digs a little bit deeper. And I always love that about horror films, when horror films kind of get into the backstory and give us a little bit more other than this is just somebody who likes to kill people. I mean, sure, there are people that are like that, and I do sometimes like the films like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and The Hills Have Eyes and things like that. You're just like, okay, why are people doing this? But with Freddy, much like Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees, they do have backstories. There was things that were happening that made them into who they are. Freddy is always going to be the coolest to me because he's attacking you in your dreams. Like, I don't know if you've ever like stayed up for a few days in a row without sleeping and what it ends up doing to you or doing to you physically and psychologically. So it's like you choosing one torture or another. And with Freddy, if you can survive him and wake up from your dream, you're good. But if you die in your dreams, you're dead for real. So I'll keep this short. I really love this. I recommend it. If you saw it all those years ago, I recommend you go back and watch it. I really do think if I'm thinking of all the Jason films, all the Halloween Michael Myers films, all of the Nightmare on Elm Street films, um, Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child is probably my absolute favorite. So I want you to go and watch it and dig in it and tell me what you think. And in the comments, let me know which one is your favorite Nightmare on Elm Street. Because I know a lot of people really love Nancy. A lot of people love Dream Warriors. Everybody hates Part 2. Part 2 had like Freddy's Revenge. The only good thing to come out of Freddy's Revenge was Nightmare on My Street by Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince. Like, let's be honest here. Um, like sometimes you just have films you're like, Why was this a part of it?" So we just act like part two didn't happen. But we definitely love the story with Nancy. She ends up coming back again. Uh, Obviously a favorite target of Freddy Krueger and one of the few people who seems to truly understand him and how to defeat him. But I think that Alice actually holds her own. And I think that while Alice is unassuming, she has a lot of power and a lot of strength. And I think that she kind of goes into psychological battles with Freddy Krueger more so than some of the physical ones that we see. So that's really why I love, love, love this film. I'm actually going to give this one 5 hearts. It is, again, I save that for my all-time favorite films. And so I definitely think that The Dream Child deserves 5 hearts. All right, thank you so much for checking out my review of one of my favorite horror films. If you are new to this channel, please subscribe and hit that like button. Again, let me know in the comments what's your favorite Nightmare on Elm Street film. All right, take care.